like this experience is pretty universal. You decide one day you're just gonna get your life together. You wake up early, you go to the gym, you read, the list goes on. You do a bunch of things that make you feel good and healthy and accomplished. And so you decide, I wanna make this a habit. So you make it maybe 5 days to a week, and then it just all kind of fizzles out. My name is Bailey, and today I'm gonna teach you how to not let that happen anymore. We all wanna feel better, get smarter, get richer, get happier, find that balance. And the best way to do that is to have good, healthy habits, to start them and then maintain them. So I'm gonna teach you 5 strategies that are gonna help you get past that week mark and keep those habits going strong. The first strategy is to be the kind of person who. This is a mindset shift that really isn't as hard as you might think it is. It means instead of waking up and thinking, how am I going to fit this habit into my routine that I already have? You're going to be already thinking of that habit as something that's just a part of who you already are. Because who you are is malleable and moldable. Why not choose to be the person that does this habit every day? You get to just kind of decide to be that person. For example, I'm the kind of person who goes to the gym every day after work. I'm the kind of person who doesn't go to bed until my kitchen's clean. That's a big one for me. This strategy also takes away the daunting task of deciding to do the task. You just do it. You don't have to think about it because it's who you are. The second strategy is to have a no excuses time frame, which means that short of an actual emergency, you have no excuse to not do it. I mean, it is your number one priority. My recommendation is to do a month-long challenge, and I'll give you an example. Last month, one of my goals was to walk 13,000 steps every day, and I've got my little Fitbit here. I told myself, there's no reason why I can't do that every day. What happened was, or toward the beginning of the month anyway, it might get to like 7 or 8 p.m. and I might only have like 9,000 steps. So I would end up walking laps around my living room, and I hated doing this. So it taught me something. I was able to figure out when the best times of the day were for me to move my body, and it reminded me to get up while I was doing sedentary tasks and get some steps in. I'm telling you, having a no excuses time frame really ingrained this habit of just getting up every once in a while in my brain and in my body. It is second nature today to not sit for too long. In fact, right now it is like killing me that I'm sitting here recording and I need to get up and move. So the third strategy is habit batching. Now, I was really proud of myself because I thought I coined this term. And I was like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. So before I started recording this, I actually Googled habit batching and it was already coined by someone else. So I'm kind of pissed that I wasn't the person to discover this, but I digress. So habit batching is basically a way to use your habits to reinforce each other. This can look a couple of different ways. One way is that you use a positive habit and you replace it with the other way around. Take a negative habit that you already have, remove it, and replace it with a positive habit. For example, maybe you want to stop looking at your phone before bed. So instead, say at 8 p.m., you put your phone away and you take out a book and you start reading. So another example of habit batching would be using 2 positive habits to reinforce each other. So how this worked for me using the 13,000 steps a day goal, I also wanted to make sure that I wasn't saving all of my cleaning for the weekends, tidying up after myself every day. So I realized after a few times of doing laps around my living room to finish getting my steps, if I use that time to actually just tidy up around my house, I would get my steps and then I would also have a tidy house. And let me tell you, this really worked well for me. Normally I would let stuff pile up throughout the week and then do all my cleaning on the weekends. And now I've learned that if I just keep doing it throughout the week, I get all my steps and I have more free time on the weekends. So habit batching might look a little bit different for you. For example, let's say you want to start relaxing before you go to bed. And in order to do that, you start a stretching routine at 8 p.m. every single night, and that will carry into your nighttime routine. And that's just one example. You could also add lots of things to this habit batch routine and create something great that's going to set you up for an awesome night's sleep. My fourth strategy is to use visual and audible reminders. This might sound obvious, but it's so effective that I had to name it. Habits really aren't habits until they're second nature, impulsive almost. So you might as well use all of your resources to remind you every day that you want to implement these habits. You don't need to rely on your memory every day to do all of these things. It's okay to post a note on your bathroom mirror so that you remember to say your prayers in the morning. or to set an alarm for when you want to start doing your stretches, or use your smartwatch to remind you to get up and move every hour because that's what the Fitbit does. I do like that feature. Another obvious visual reminder is to use a calendar. You can use calendars as a habit tracker. So what I do is in my kitchen, I have a calendar that I have 3 habits that I'm trying to create, and I have one color for each habit. And then on each day, I mark a little heart and the coordinating color to mark off when I've completed the task. Another planner I use is on my iPad. I use Planner Pro. It's been the most easy to use one for me, and it's nice because it can set alarms for me if I need reminded to do stuff on a daily basis or on a weekly basis or whatever. The 5th strategy here is probably the most important one, and if you don't have this, you're not going to keep any of these strategies going. And that is to remember the power of grit. Grit is the power of resolve or strength of character. In other words, don't give up. So let's say that despite your no excuses time frame, you drop the ball one day on one of your habits. This doesn't mean you failed. And this might sound cheesy, but the only way you can fail is if you let that one blip in your month completely derail the rest of it. Angela Duckworth has a book called Grit, and I highly recommend everyone read it. It's really good, very informative. It has some really great lessons about how people who might not have a certain talent for something can just try and try and try day after day after day, and eventually out-succeed people who might have a natural proclivity towards that thing. I find that incredibly inspiring to develop my work ethic. If I were to compare 2 people, let's say person 1 has a perfect record for a month of performing their habit every day. Person 2 might have dropped the ball on one day or 2, but they got back up and they finished strong. I'm actually going to be more impressed with person 2 because it means that one failure didn't derail the rest of their month. In other words, it just shows that person 2 has grit. So those are my 5 strategies for successful habit maintenance. I hope you liked this video and found it useful. If you think it would be useful for me to dive deeper into each of these strategies, let me know in the comments. Also comment if you're already using some of these strategies or if you have a different strategy that I didn't mention in here. Remember to give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful and subscribe if you want to see more self-improvement content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Saturday.